Well, good morning, good afternoon and good evening, and welcome back to another week on my plot. And it's official, summer has arrived on the allotment. And of course, I, like many, watch other YouTubers with their allotments and their kitchen gardens, and it is right across the country, and it's lovely to see. Crikey, have we earned it. On the plot now, everything is just starting to kick in. You know, the peas are 4 or 5 feet high. You know, I've said before that there's this little moment when you put plants, and I always put them in the ground too small. You know, I watched Monty Don on Gardener's World last night, and he was planting out courgettes and squashes. I mean, I planted mine weeks ago, and his plants were, you know, 2-3 feet high, and that's the way to do it. I think the key is he's got huge greenhouses. I have 6 by 6, I think, and so, you know, space is limited and stuff has to come out because other stuff has to go in, etc. But anyway, that aside, even those squashes, tomatoes, cucumbers, everything that's a little bit more tender and requires a little more heat, that I put out way too early, has gone through that period of shock, and it's now sort of established, it's got used to its environment, and everything's growing on. And the weather's been great for a week or more. So yeah, I'm very happy. We have earned it this year, haven't we? But we knew if we all kept the faith that eventually everything would turn. So it's actually Monday morning. I work 4 days a week, and I have done for years. So every other weekend I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, which is nice. I have to say it's not often I take the long weekend because usually a customer wants something extra done. So Friday I filled half the day with work, but today I've indulged myself. Saturday we went down to see my mum. My mum had some work in the garden she wanted doing, and it was nice to be able to do that. Yesterday, we went and did a car boot sale, started the mammoth process of emptying the house of 40 years of stuff we should never have kept. It's fair to say Cheryl is a hoarder and I'm I shouldn't have got rid of that. So we have a few emotional conversations. Anyway, the car boot sale was very successful. I think she told me that we made 55 quid. I've learned that I put because people crowd round you, and Cheryl doesn't like that bit. She gets a bit intimidated. So my job is to tell people to move back, put the table up, put the stuff on it, and then get out of the way, and then she starts the sales pitch. She's got the little bum bag with the change, and for a very mild, lovely lady, she's ruthless. Sorry, I had to cut. We have resident cats here, and without the risk of upsetting people, I hate cats. As a gardener and as someone who takes immense pride in my own garden, cats are an infestation. And of course, when you buy a cat, you have to accept that it's going to poo in everybody else's garden except your own. So I spend a lot of my week picking up poo off my manicured lawns, and I don't mind the cats here because the cats, I hope, keep the rodents down. But he just started digging in I think he was going to settle him down for a bit of a number 2 over by my squashes, so he had to move. Anyway, welcome to the plot. Today is all about just managing the weeds, keeping an eye on crops, looking for pests, all the sort of management, husbandry stuff. I don't know why they call it husbandry, because it's usually women that look after things, isn't it? But anyway, you're very welcome. Let's have a look around on this glorious morning at what's going on. Well, there's me in the intro saying, you know, my plants have seen themselves through the shock. These squashes still look very, very poor and pallid, but I seem to have, I don't want to tempt fate, but I seem to have mastered the slug problem. Now, first of all, thank you to the 2 subscribers that suggested that I might look under this membrane for slugs. There's a whole thriving community under there, as you would expect. So I did lift it back and I picked them out and got rid of them. and then I put some slug pellets down under there, and it seems to have done the job. Of course, it also coincided, so I was trying to think of the word, coincided with the weather drying up, so I'm really not sure which it was. Maybe it's a combination of all those factors. But whilst the squashes, the pumpkins, still don't look good, they have survived, and the one there that was eaten completely that I've replaced has survived. So we'll see. I'm quietly confident that if I keep on, every time I come up here I move that membrane back and have a look for more slugs. I'm quietly confident they should improve. Well, this is pea purple magnolia. It's now at 6 feet high and it's still climbing. I do remember growing it once before as part of a trial for Kitchen Garden magazine, and it grew to about 8 feet high. So when it reaches the top of that support, I expect it to flop over and be a bit messy, but so be it. However, the good news is that it is now making, as the name suggests, purple pods. You know, and they're eaten as, you know, just raw, or maybe steamed or lightly boiled in salads, etc. Sort of like mange too, I believe, Rodney. Sorry, I can't help it myself. So yeah, they're doing well. In fact, I had one yesterday raw on the plot, and it tasted very sweet. So they're a success. Here are that's a row of Charlotte and then 2 rows of main crop, and I think you can see now very clearly that that's 1 foot apart and this row is 2 feet apart. I'm expecting this row to produce larger potatoes. The perceived wisdom would suggest that. We shall see. Yes, world exclusive, folks. My cherry tree has 6 cherries on it. Thanks, Terry. I'm over the moon with that. Now, it looks to me like they're going to be, it doesn't look like a domestic edible cherry, but that's not going to stop me. So far nothing's nicked it, so I'm going to give that a taste later. I do love early mornings. Right, so this is another main crop, Cara. Cara has been a derivative of the Sarpo range and is a direct descendant of Sarpomera, I believe. So I'm hoping that, as well as being a nice potato, it's as blight resistant as the Sarpos have proved. Well, the tomatoes show more clearly than the squashes. What I mean, that these plants were put in the first week of May, which is allotmenting suicide, but I've got away with it, and they could not look better. They really are healthy now. Again, I think I've put them a little bit too close together. In the summer it'll be hard to move amongst them to look after them, but you know, they're in now, so, and I'm very pleased. They're looking good. And just across the way, my butternuts are in now, for better or for worse. Again, they're still very small plants, but there's new growth on each of them, and I think they'll be okay. Next year, when we move to our new place, and hopefully we get a nice big spacious greenhouse, I will be able to do things more sensibly. More space means being able to leave more plants in a greenhouse for longer, and I think that will make a significant difference to the way I manage fruits and vegetables. But for now, I think they're going to be okay. And the peas, these 2 rows, well actually there's 4 rows on this Harris fencing, could not look better. Again, I don't like to tempt fate, I always do it, but other years I've had to use rope and string to tie them in to keep them on the frames, but touching wood, this year the winds haven't been too severe, and they're looking good. They've managed to hold on themselves. I haven't had to tie in at all. Really pleased with that. So what else have I been up to? Right, I'm growing 3 different courgettes this year. I've mentioned it before, I know. This is, I have to say it while I can remember it, Tondo di Plazenzo. A blooming odd name. Anyway, I'm pleased to report I have two little courgettes on it. They're ball type things, so I suspect they'll grow to the size of a tennis ball when I harvest them. But this one in particular is looking really healthy. A little bit of weeding needed. It's hard to believe with all these bottles I've got all over the site that within a month all the bottles will disappear under foliage. But that courgette's looking good. And if I swing you round, there's some red cabbage kiloton, clubroot resistant variety. I've grown it ever since I started. And these are the replacement broad beans. They look alright. We'll see. I'm not optimistic, but so far so good. And let's move on here. This is the second of the three I'm growing. All this foliage is mostly left over from daffodils. More weeding needed here. I'm creating a job list as I go. Yeah, so this is the main one I usually grow, and this is all green bush. So it doesn't trail and take up vast amount of space. As the name suggests, it grows where it is, as a bush, which I like. And here's the third and final of my three courgette varieties, and this is Soleil. I grew it for the first time last year, and I was very pleased with it. And as the name suggests, these are yellow courgettes. So again, a little more weeding needed. Not sure quite why the leaves look so yellow. I might have to give that a feed. But it's growing away. It looks like it'll be okay. These are the seeds, onion seeds I sowed back in the autumn, and quite a lot of them have gone to seed or bolted. Now, I don't know why that is. I mean, they've certainly had plenty of water. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they've sat in waterlogged ground for too long. I don't know. But I'm not worried about that, because now we know, although they won't store, we'll chop them up and freeze them. A lot of the onions that we stored over winter, once we got to February, March, we chopped them up in the kitchen. I have to say Cheryl did almost all of it, and froze them, and we're using them now. So we've discovered another way to extend the life of our harvests. So that's what we'll do with those. But when you multi-sow, that's the sort of effect you get. And then, you know, as they grow in size from this moment on, and Cheryl needs onions, I will pick out the larger and then let the smaller ones develop. And there's another good example there. There's 4 of them. When Cheryl needs onions, for example, I will take out that middle one, which will allow the other 3 the room to develop. So yeah, I'm fairly happy with the way these are going. Well, here's a nice problem to have. That's my first sowing of runner beans, and I have nowhere planned to put them. The couple of wigwams I have French climbing beans on. So yeah, not sure. Gonna have a look around the site with a brew and make a decision at some point. I have got to the point where we always leave our dahlias in the ground now. We don't tend to get bad winters, and all I do is I cut them, the growth in the autumn down. Once they've had a bit of a frost, I cut everything down to the ground, put it on the compost heap, and then I put about 3 inches of fresh compost over the plant, and that's it, and I leave it. And I've never had a problem, never had a dahlia not come up the following spring. But for whatever reason, this year they have been incredibly slow to return. I thought initially that maybe I'd lost them, but I haven't. They're just very, very slow. But this one, which I particularly like, is on its way back, and I've put this bamboo cane and string affair there because believe it or not, as it is now, when it starts flowering it'll be 4 to 5 feet high and it'll be blocking the path, hopefully. So I always put these affairs up just before they start to grow in anticipation, but I'm pleased to see it back. These celery plants are going to be grown up on the allotment, and you can see I've got them in large pots in saucers, and I keep the saucers topped up with water. Because they're bog plants, they like to be moist, and so hopefully if I keep those saucers topped up, that'll keep the soil, watering from below, and they'll enjoy that environment. And also, of course, it has the byproduct keeping the slugs away, hopefully. So we'll see how they go, but there just simply wasn't the room. I've got 2 celery plants in the greenhouse at home, and that's all I've got room for because of the peppers we grow. So I'm going to grow them up here, and they'll have to get on with it. And next to them are 12 plants, winter squash, mashed potato, with their watering bottles ready. Hard to believe that in a month you won't be able to see those bottles. But these are quite lucrative at the farm shop. Each plant grows about 8 to 10 individual squash. So I produce quite a lot of them. And yeah, they're very popular in the farm shop, so I make a little bit of money off that. So it's not necessarily for us to eat, it just makes a bit of money and cuts the cost of my allotments. And here's another job I did this week. I chopped off another self-propagated blackberry plant. We do like our blackberries, and they grow particularly well on this site. They're probably the main, well, they are the main berry that we pick. Blimmin' thousands of them, and I'm very grateful for them. But the rest of them are, and there's a strawberry plant there, but the rest are the potted on spare pumpkins. So, and again they're in a tray with some water. So if any of the others falter or succumb to slugs, I do have spares. And the plan is that if I don't need the spares on my plot, I'm going to plant them up either over where we've got the manure, I don't know, but I want to find somewhere. There's enough unused plots on this site to grow a few more pumpkins. And just an update on the brassicas. This bed here are it's a collection of brassicas, so broccoli, cauliflower, and then the 2 cabbages. These were all sown in October, kept in the greenhouse, a cold greenhouse over winter, and then planted out, hopefully to get an earlier crop. But I have to say my spring sown collection of brassicas have overtaken them. They didn't last year. I got quite an early picking from these, but this year it hasn't happened. Every year's different, isn't it? So here, and if I don't grow my brassicas under netting, I lose them. So these are my Brussels sprouts, and although there's a few holes in them, they've developed strong enough now to get away from the slugs mainly, and they've got metal poles to grow up, so I hold high hopes for those. Then here again I have a collection of different brassicas, again sown in the spring, and they're doing very well. And then past my asparagus, which is now all we only got 3 crops off it, but so be it. We went away for a week, which was the big mistake. And then that bed up there, that's all, I think there's 9 plants in there, that's all Romanesco cauliflowers. And so far so good. This is the working heap in my compost bays. So the lid is up. I have this very, very thin sheet, it's like cardboard really, of ply. And I put that over the bay when I'm not using it, simply to try and keep the warmth in. And I've drilled a hole in it, and you can see there it's just under 50 degrees centigrade. And of course I put all my couch grass and perennial weeds and annual weeds in there, so the hotter it gets the better it is, because it'll kill the couch grass, hopefully. I always put that in the middle of the bay, hoping that that's where it gets the hottest. But that's working very well. The best sound on the plot. Well, they're done. Found this little corner on the edge of the main crop potato bed, and I put 2 runner bean seeds in each pot. So I've just planted the pot, so that's 2 per cane. Sorted. Well, it's just after lunchtime, and I think our daughter's coming down with our grandson, so I'm going to cut and run and hopefully find them at home. Little bit of watering of the thirsty crops. Got the first run of beans in, lots of weeding, hoeing, clearing up round the back all the long grass in the raspberries. But yeah, good day. Started early. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for subscribing. Hope you're enjoying your gardens and allotments. And I shall see you next week as we move further into summer. Look after yourselves. Take care. Bye for now.